Starting the episode over.
Yes!
Yeah.
Our guest panelist. Wait a sec. Oh.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Because we're professional.
Sure are. Sure are.
Yep.
Yes, our guest panelist had to take a nap.
Yep. Because she was letting us know her presence was being...
She was too opinionated and upset,
Yeah,
so she had to go to bed.
She's such a feminist, she couldn't
Couldn't take it anymore.
She couldn't be awake.
For the intolerance. For the slander of the female character to happen.
Exactly.
With that being said, hi.
Hi.
I'm Allison Gwynn.
I'm Amelia Cormack.
And this is Some Dark Holler.
I'd rather be in some dark holler where the sun refused to shine than for you to be another man's woman, never on earth to call you mine. Oh my gosh.
We are back. Hello.
Hello.
Our guest panelist is napping, so we will continue with our Tom Dooley part 2.
I am so intrigued to hear how this all goes down and how it becomes a song.
It's real crazy. It's just a scandalo. It's so scandalous.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is quite a scandalous story. If you have not heard part 1 of Tom Dooley, go back and listen to it because it's extra juicy. That sounds gross.
It's a love. I've never heard of a love pentagram before.
It's a love pentagram.
Oh no, sorry, pentagon.
That
not
sounds
pentagram.
funny though. Love pentagram.
Right?
No, no witchcraft or satanic worship happened. I don't think.
Okay.
Just good old fashioned fooling around. So, in North Carolina, there was Tom Dooley. There was Ann Melton Foster. They were neighbors, and they loved each other throughout their childhood. However, Ann, at 15 years old, decides to marry a man named James Melton. So she marries James. James goes to the Civil War, and then she carries on her love affair with Tom Dooley while her husband's at war. Tom goes to war too eventually. He's caught in a POW camp, but he's released when the war ends. Anne and Tom carry on their affair right under the nose and under the same roof often as her husband, James Melton.
In their one room.
It's a one-room house, friends.
That still blows my mind.
There's a lot of bed hopping, and there's a lot of Fosters. So we have Ann Foster. That's the first one.
One might argue it's Bananas Foster.
It's Bananas Foster.
Sorry,
Woo,
I
I
cracked
love
myself up there.
It's really good. This Foster's is banana. Bananas. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I tickled myself.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I love you.
I love you more.
So there is a lot of bed hopping, and more Fosters get added to the mix. So this triangle becomes a pentagon. Laura Foster, who is a cousin that lives not too far away, Tom starts sleeping with her as well. And then Pauline, but it's pronounced Perline in North Carolina back then, comes in from Tennessee supposedly to visit her grandfather, but we'll get into that in a second. So Tom starts sleeping with Pauline Perline too, and she becomes a servant for Ann Melton for the Melton household. And Perline has syphilis. So Perline gives syphilis to the Pentagon It is spread between Anne, Tom, James has it too, and Laura as well, the foster that doesn't live in the Melton household. And so, Pearline keeps her having syphilis a secret, however, and so Tom thinks Laura gave the Pentagon syphilis.
I have been just picturing the actual Pentagon in DC. I'm sure there's a lot
DC
of
Pentagon
syphilis going around there.
it's a syphilitic Pentagon. And Tom and Anne are pissed. And they think that Laura gave them syphilis, not Pearline, who's keeping her mouth shut this whole time. She's like, yep, Laura's the one that did it, not me. Not me.
Oh, God.
So, everything comes to boiling point on May 1862. Everything comes to a boiling point. So, May 25th, Laura goes missing.
Oh, no.
Just out of the blue.
Okay.
Goes missing.
Uh-huh.
Turns out that she stole her father's horse and went off to meet Tom Dooley in a place in the woods called the Bates Place.
Not to be confused with the motel.
Right. And it was just like an old property in the woods called the Bates Place, and they agreed to both meet there. We know this because on the way, Laura tells a neighbor that's where she's going. And then she goes missing the next day. So, if you want a full tie line of all the shenanigans that happen the day before she goes missing, listen to part 1. The day after she goes missing is Saturday, May 26th. After breakfast, Tom goes from his house back to the Melton house to have his shoes repaired by none other than James Melton, who happens to be a cobbler.
Okay.
So while he's getting his shoes repaired, Tom and Anne talk outside for a long time. Pearline approaches Tom and says she thought he had run off with Laura Foster the night before, but Tom replies, I have no use for Laura Foster. And then he leaves the Melton house shortly after his shoes are repaired.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Laura's dad returns home because he was at that party and his
whiskers got burnt.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Wilson Foster returns home to find his horse had returned. Come back.
Okay.
The rope leading the horse appeared to have been gnawed through, suggesting the horse had been tied up for a while wherever it had been. And the horse chewed through the rope and returned home. Why an immediate search didn't start is not known after the horse came back. Because, Laura's dad searched for a little while the day previous, but didn't do that good of a job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, what if the horse comes back? That's a red flag for me. I'd be like, okay, we need to really look for her. But he doesn't.
Okay.
Tom returns again to the Melton house, back to the Melton house that evening with his fiddle, and entertains everyone until midnight, when they all spend the night together and go to bed. James and Tom started out the night sharing the bed.
Just the bed hopping in this story,
It's
I can't keep track.
Okay. So, people in town could see that Tom Dooley was in town and hadn't run away with Laura Foster. So, they're like, okay, Tom's here. Where's Laura? On June 24th, which is almost an entire month later.
Oh, yeah.
Townspeople and neighbors conducted an 8-day search. Finally. A month later. It was an 8-day search, and J.W. Winkler testified that they searched near the Dula house with no success, and then out by the Bates place, where it was rumored the lovers were supposed to have met. It was there at the Bates place where they found a piece of rope tied to a dogwood tree that looked bitten through, and 2 heaps of horse poop suggesting that the horse had been there for some time.
Yeah.
Also, a dark stained patch of earth was found about the size of a man's hand. Winkler reports that the stain was foul-smelling and had been covered by leaves and twigs as if someone was trying to hide it.
That's a smart horse, knowing, oh no, I'm going to shoot through
gotta get out of this.
Bye.
I don't want to be here for this. Tom Dula never participated in any of the searches. I go back and forth between Dula and Dooley. My apologies. I will try to stick with one.
No, but you know, it's
my inner struggle.
I would argue that both are correct.
Yes. Okay. After Laura's disappearance, Tom visited Anne every day. Some townspeople by the name of Hendricks were spreading rumors that Tom killed Laura, and it got back to Tom via James Melton. Tom replied, "They will have to prove it and take a beating besides."
Okay.
So June 25th, Tom appears at the Meltons and spends the night. Surprise, surprise. Pearline testifies to hearing Anne crying in bed next to her, and Tom getting in bed with both of them and crying too.
Oh my God.
Then Anne and Tom go outside, and Pearline follows, which is weird. I mean, third wheel much? Okay.
Yeah.
Tom tells Pearline.
But then if she's like does she do it surreptitiously or kind of openly?
No, because he tells her some stuff while they're outside.
Oh, because I was like, is she following to get the
scoop, right? So
maybe not.
Tom tells Pearline he has to leave town due to some nasty rumors being spread about him, and that he would return for Anne and his mother around Christmas time. It's June.
Okay.
He leaves, and Anne continues to cry for the rest of the night.
Oh.
Tom leaves Elksville for Watauga County, which is where Pearline was from, which is the county in which I was born.
No way, really?
Yes.
Ah.
June 28th. Laura's dad sends a complaint to the Justice of the Peace against Tom, Anne, Pearline, and Tom's first cousin, Granville Dooley. I don't know. Telling him to arrest them for the death of his granddaughter. Wait. Telling them to arrest them for the death of his daughter. The next day, a hearing, this is June 29th, a hearing is had at Cowell's General Store, a town meeting place. The defendants all pleaded not guilty, and since they all had alibis, they were let go. Tom, of course, was long gone. 2 deputies go out in search of Tom Dula to Watauga County, Tennessee. July 4th, Tom reaches Colonel James W.M. Grayson's farm in Tennessee and works for 4 days to earn new boots on account of his own boots disintegrated on his 15-mile walk. I thought his boots were fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, 15 miles is not very far in a pair of boots.
They must have done shoddy repair work there.
Methinks
James Melton.
I was going to say he has good reason to not
like,
do the best
revenge.
job. Yeah, I'm gonna avenge myself on his boots
by doing shoddy work on your boots. He uses the name Tom Hall to avoid suspicion. July 9th, Tom leaves with his new boots in the morning, and the posse looking for him arrives that afternoon. So not far behind. Mm-hmm. The owner of the farm, Colonel Grayson, agrees to go with the 2 men and attempts to apprehend them. They find him in Pandora, Tennessee, soaking his feet in the Doe Creek. No doubt his boots hadn't been broken in. He was apprehended without a struggle, and they brought him back to Elksville. July 11th, he is incarcerated at the Old Wilkes Jail in North Carolina. About this time, Pearline is getting pretty nervous and decides to make a run for it back home to Watauga County around July 16th. Anne goes and gets her back 2 weeks after that, telling her that she was making them all look guilty. Pearline returns to work for Anne.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how. Okay. August 1st, we're in August. Anne does the dumbest thing in the world and tells Perline, quote, "Poor Dooley. I wonder if he will be hung. Are you a friend of Dooley? I am. Are you a friend of mine? I want to show you Laura Foster's grave. They have pretty well quit hunting for it. I want to see if it looks suspicious." End quote.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like someone who wants to be caught. You know, like we've discussed BTK before,
Right.
but like putting that floppy disk in there.
Maybe she's just dumb. Maybe she's just dumb. I don't know. But she then went on to say, if the grave did look suspicious, she would dig her up and bury her elsewhere. And she wanted Perline to come along with her.
I mean, I want to give her more. I don't. I'm torn.
I know. And all we have is, this is all based on Perline's later testimony.
Well, there we go. I don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Perline's testimony states that they stopped at a log halfway up the ridge to the Bates place. Perline got nervous and refused to go any further. Anne said Laura's body was just a little bit further, but Perline refused, and Anne went on alone. She returned a moment later saying everything looked good, and then made fun of Perline for being a coward.
Oh my God.
It was then that Perline started to really get nervous. She started to drink to take the edge off, and it was during one such drunken day when the police came calling. Mm-hmm. On August 8th, deputies Bennett, Ferguson, and John Adkins show up at the Melton place asking questions about Tom and Laura. Perline drunkenly blurted out, "Yes, and Dooley killed her and ran away to Tennessee. Yes, Dooley killed her and ran off to Watauga County. Come out, Tom Dooley, and let us kill some more. Let us kill Ben Ferguson." That's the deputy that was questioning her.
Oh, see, I don't know if I...
So the deputies took it as a drunken joke and left. Because of this encounter, Anne and Perline later have a physical altercation at a neighbor's house. At a neighbor's house. So Celia Anderson Scott, the one that Tom asked if her brother was nearby, George Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
George Washington Anderson, or whatever his name was.
My favorite name.
And Celia Anderson Scott said Anne choked Perline with a club.
Jesus.
And said, quote, "You have said enough to Jack Adkins and Ben Ferguson to hang you and Tom Dooley if it was ever looked into." Perline replied, "You know you are as deep into it as I am."
See, that implies to me that Perline did more than just like that. Yeah. I don't trust Perline.
No, who would?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the one who didn't tell anyone she had syphilis.
Yeah. August 28th, Perline is finally taken into custody, and she sings like a canary. Mm-hmm. She also shows the police where Anne took her to cover up Laura's body. After a search of that general area, Laura's body was found. So it's definitely Laura is dead. One of the horses in the party rears up and snorted at some loose earth, and a couple of yards away from the log where Perline refused to go any further on her trip with Anne, they found Laura's body buried 2 feet under the surface. James Isbell, a member of the search party, says, "We searched narrowly around the spot and by probing the ground discovered the grave. After taking out the earth and after the body removed, I saw prints of what appeared to have been a mattock in the hard side of the grave." A mattock, you say?
Mattocks seem to be responsible for many untoward
Mattock
things.
seems to be the weapon of choice for lots of things. Tom Dooley, if you hadn't listened to the first part, borrowed a mattock the day before Laura went missing. And now we know is probably to have dug Laura's grave. Perhaps the same mattock Tom Dooley borrowed from Lottie Foster to widen the path between their houses.
Oh, yeah.
Isabel goes on to say, and I'm sorry, this is graphic, the flesh was off her face.
Oh.
Her body had on a checked cotton dress and a dark-colored cloak or cape. There was a bundle of clothes laid on her head. Dr. Carter, the same one that was treating everyone for syphilis, examined the body, finding a slit in the fabric of the dress over the left breast and a corresponding stab wound between her third and fourth ribs. He says the body was lying on its right side, face up. The hole in which it lay was 2.5 feet deep, very narrow, and not long enough for the body. The legs were drawn up. So she was in the fetal position.
Yeah. Wait, when they said the flesh was off the face, could that have been from decomposition? Or...
Maybe so. Could it have been a month?
Yeah, or an animal. Like,
yeah,
and if she's only 2 feet down,
who knows? Yeah, she was too. Well, okay, wait, never mind. She was too badly decomposed to see whether or not she was stabbed in the heart, but could have.
Yeah.
She was taken to the Cowles General Store. Her body was taken to the general store to have her body identified by her father and by none other than Pearline herself.
General stores, though, fulfilled a different function than just being a shop, though.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard this before, where people things happen at the general store.
Yeah.
That we would go, you're doing this in a shop.
Yeah, because I was said, crazy imagining like going for the weekly shop and then like there's a dead body.
Yeah.
Let's see, I need milk, eggs, and there's a dead body.
But I'm sure I've heard that before. I could be wrong, but.
Oh, look, there's a corpse. Yes, that's what I said. Let's see. I need orange juice, and there's a corpse. So, yes. So the meeting place was the general store. Unfortunately, that's where she was ID'd by her father and Pearline. The father recognized the gap in his daughter's teeth. And Anne was then promptly arrested and got the cell next to Tom in Old Wilkes Jail. How sweet. And Pearline was released. So now the trials. So long story short is that Tom had thousands of appeals. Well, not thousands, but a lot. And his trial was also delayed because key witnesses were absent. The first course of action was separating Anne and John's trials. The reason given was that Anne was charged with instigating and inciting Tom to murder. And if he was found not guilty of the murder, then there would no longer be any reason to charge Anne with anything.
I mean, that's Gypsy Rose Mansion went to jail for that.
Right. Who is now pregnant.
Oh, okay.
All right. Good luck.
I need to watch that. I need to watch that documentary about her post jail.
Yes.
I haven't watched it yet.
I heard it's a doozy. Okay. Sorry. Sidetrack.
No, I sidetracked us. That was entirely my fault.
I loved it. I love that story. I'm fascinated by it. It's morbidly fascinating.
So fascinating.
So, but even if Tom was not found guilty, don't you think she could still have incited and tried to instigate? Is trying to instigate a murder a crime?
That's an interesting point. Yeah, because if you're not successful in it, can you still be?
Well, you still tried.
You still tried, yeah.
Right. That should be something.
Yeah.
Tom's trial went first for the same reason as the separation. She was also allowed to be present in court for Tom's trial.
Huh.
Yeah. Tom's defense also had the trial moved, stating that they couldn't have a fair trial in the native Elksville, which I'm sure was probably true. So it was moved to Iredell County. During the two trials, 83 people testified.
I'm sorry, what? I would have done a spit take if I didn't want to ruin the Yeti.
83 people testified.
83?
Yeah.
Holy shitballs.
That's like the whole town.
Yeah.
That's more than the whole town.
That's A lot of witnesses.
That's a lot of people. But only 20 summaries of testimonies remain.
Right.
Because poor...
That's still a lot.
Court reporters, can you imagine? Slow down! Slow down! So, after the first trial, the jury deliberated all night long, and Tom was found guilty. And the judge sentenced him to hang. However, the defense immediately appealed, and it was granted, citing that there was some grammatical errors.
Who knew that grammar could save your life?
There is a big hullabaloo. Okay, there's also a big hullabaloo made that Zebulon Vance was Tom and Anne's attorney.
Zebulon?
Zebulon Vance.
Sounds like a Star Trek character.
I know. These southern names. If this case was the O.J. case of its day, Zebulon Vance was the Johnny Cochran.
Right.
He was famous in North Carolina. He was its governor. A U.S. senator. And he was a Confederate officer in the Civil War.
Wow.
So I'm not sure. I'm sure you probably can't be a governor and a U.S. senator after you secede from the Union, right? Because, like, if you're a Confederate officer in the Civil War, and then what do? Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I be senator?
Yep.
Who knows? Back then it was a wild and crazy place.
Yep.
It was thought that Vance took on this case for political reasons, as Dooley and Melton couldn't afford such representation.
I was going to say, what would have possessed
It's a very popular case, so he probably wanted the notoriety.
Yeah.
Now, there is a legend that Dooley served under Vance in the war, and that is the reason behind the representation, but these are false.
Okay.
So, another legend, urban legend.
Right.
The second trial was in the spring of 1867, and it came to an end quickly because of missing defense witnesses. So it got pushed to fall, 1867, where the trial was postponed again, this time because of missing prosecution witnesses. So it was postponed again until spring term in 1868, and in January 1868, Tom Dooley was again found guilty and sentenced to hang on Valentine's Day.
Sheesh.
Defense appealed again and lost this time, but this delayed the hanging date to May 1st, 1868. Mm-hmm. While awaiting hanging, Tom's sister sent him a note from his mother in which his mother asks Tom to confess the truth of his actions for her sake. Mm-hmm. But Tom doesn't reply.
That's cold.
Yeah. On April 30th, 1868, the night before the hanging, Tom had his dinner, and the jailer noticed he had somehow loosened his shackles with a piece of glass. Mm-hmm. His shackles were replaced. He also spoke with his attorney and either gave him a note, handwritten, or had the lawyer dictate a note entitled Statement of Thomas C. Dula, and handed over a 15-page handwritten statement of his life, written in a crude handwriting in pencil. This is all interesting because Tom stated that he was illiterate.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
15 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He made his attorney promise to not open the statement until after he was dead. Mm-hmm. That morning, he consulted a minister, but still wouldn't confess that he killed Laura, even to a preacher. He was baptized and he prayed. The gallows were constructed in a patch of land near the railway depot in Statesville, North Carolina, known as the Circus Lot. Nearly 3,000 people showed up for Tom's hanging.
Holy bajoli.
Now, the popular song by the Kingston Trio suggests a more romantic setting of a lonesome valley under an old oak tree. Nope. He got the circus lot by the train station.
Wow. With 3,000 people there.
At 12:42, Tom was led from prison by the sheriff. He got into a horse-drawn cart that also carried his coffin and his sister and his brother-in-law.
That's a full cart.
Yes. On his way to the gallows, he told them not to worry and that he had made his peace with God. Mm-hmm. The cart arrived at 1:08 p.m. under the gallows, and the sheriff placed a noose around his neck. To which Tom replied, "If I'd known you were going to use such a pretty new rope, I'd have washed my neck."
Oh! Wow.
Gallows humor.
Literally.
Tom then addressed the crowd, and according to the New York Sentinel, he spoke of his childhood, parents, career in the Army, politics, Governor William Holden, and the fact that he was a secessionist and should not be trusted. It seems like he talked about everything but the murder itself.
How long was he speaking for?
In the business, yes, we call this stretching for time. He continued to talk about the roads leading to the murder place, and that several people were witnesses at his trial, and that they spoke falsely against him, thus perjuring themselves. He ended his 1 hour long speech.
1 hour? What?
1 hour long?
That's like some filibustering shit.
I know. He's like, by the way, he ended his 1 hour long speech by saying, without the lies sworn against him, he wouldn't be standing there at all. His last words were, "Gentlemen, do you see this hand? Does it tremble? I didn't hurt a hair on that girl's head." He then said goodbye to his sister, and the other end of the rope was tied to the crossbeam, and at 2:24 the cart was pulled away. Tom hung 2 feet off the ground. His neck didn't break, and he was breathing for 5 minutes after.
Oh my God.
His heart beat for 10, and then at 2:37 he was pronounced dead.
This is the thing with hanging that they always talk about, that it's like, if it goes wrong, it's
really bad.
Yeah.
I wrote, "I'm unsure of the structure of these gallows, but it seems that instead of dropping from a trap door, he stood on a horse cart under the gallows above him, and the horse cart galloped away and his body was hoisted up." So that doesn't exactly assure a quick death.
Yeah.
After his death, Tom's attorney announced the contents of his statement. It read, "I declare that I am the only person that had any hand in the murder of Laura Foster." Dated April 30th, 1868. Since Tom confessed via piece of paper after he died that he had acted alone, Anne's trial in the fall of 1868 was rather short, and she was found not guilty because of the statement.
Okay.
She was released and went home.
Okay.
She returned to James and the one-room house and her little girl Martha, and in 1871 she gave birth to a second child named Ida. Mm-hmm. And Anne was publicly shunned, but it didn't seem to bother her much.
Okay.
She died between 1871 and 1874. Some say of an overturned buggy accident, but some say it was by late-stage syphilis.
Yeah. I mean, what syphilis does to the brain.
Yeah, just turns it to mush.
Yep.
I know, it's sad, isn't it? So, many people find Tom's note romantic, ensuring that Anne would live, an act of true love. But I think it's a bit cowardly that he waited until after he died to avoid experiencing any public scrutiny. But
and it's interesting that at the gallows,
he said, "I never touched."
He
that
said,
girl.
"I never touched that girl." When knowing that you're going to have a statement come out that says you did it, like that's the thing that, because I was like, why are you still protesting your innocence if it's because it may
no idea.
It's that's strange to me.
I know. I think it was very just an act of coward, and
yeah, no, I think you're right.
He wanted to have a few pleasant last moments, thinking that he was dying a noble death. People talk themselves into all sorts of stuff. the ballads. It isn't known who wrote the first ballad. Songwriters and balladeers were making lyrics during and after his trial. In 1867, a rather long poem was made by a school teacher named Thomas C. Land called The Death of Laura Foster, but it wasn't meant to be sung.
Right.
Some of it goes like this. Ere sun declined toward the west, she met her groom and his vile guest.
Oh.
In forest wild, they three retreat, and hope for parson there to meet. Mm-hmm. So we see here that the poet thinks that Tom and Anne acted together to kill Laura, and also that maybe Tom had lured her there under the guise of, we're going to get married secretly.
Yeah.
So 3 versions exist between 1912 and 1943 that were collected. So that's the time of their collection.
Okay.
Not necessarily the time of their being written. So it was that poem. Calvin Triplett collected a version that you heard us sing in the first part. And there was also this one that says, Tom wrote it himself. This third version says that Tom Dula wrote it and sings it from the gallows.
Right. Okay.
He says, I pick my banjo now. I pick it on my knee. This time tomorrow night, there'll be no more of me. It also gives him the... I know. It also gives him the wrong instrument. Some things to wonder. A, where's his fiddle? B, how is he allowed a musical instrument in prison?
Considering I wasn't allowed that in the sight ward.
I know. This version was credited to Grayson and Witter. People called, I know, Grayson and Witter, who recorded it in 1929. Bless you. But it was also claimed by a banjo player, named Frank Prophet, who cut his recording a year later in 1930. A banjo player might have written this version, I think, so that makes sense that Tom's fiddle is changed to a banjo.
Yeah.
So those are the roots of the famous version that started the folk boom in the 1900s, in the mid-1900s, by the Kingston Trio. However, the Kingston Trio's version is completely factually wrong, yet gets away with it because it is also very vague.
Right. I mean, that's the way you want to do it in a folk song.
Yeah, keep it vague.
Keep it vague.
The love triangle that the trio speaks of was supposedly between Tom, Laura Foster, and Mr. Grayson.
Wait. Remind me who Mr. Grayson is?
Mr. Grayson was the farm owner in Tennessee, where the runaway Tom Dooley, under the name Tom Hall, worked for a new pair of boots.
James W. With all the initials in the middle of his name.
Yeah. He didn't have any affair with Laura Foster. Now, where did they get this idea? Well, in 1947, there's a book that circulated not only in public libraries, but in school libraries as well, called Folk Song USA.
Oh.
This book states that Tom Dula fought under Zebulon Vance's cavalry, wrong, and made it home to North Carolina to find his girlfriend Laura cheated on him with many men, wrong.
God.
And Laura and Tom didn't start dating until after he got back from the war with a dad-burn Yankee school teacher. Wrong.
Okay.
So wrong. Not even sure where that comes from, other than the first poem written by the school teacher. So, not sure how the teacher got in there.
Yeah.
Not sure how Mr. Grayson became the third point in their fictional triangle, but perhaps if they told the true story, it wouldn't have gotten into #1 in the Billboard and the Billboard R&B charts and the Cashbox Country Top 20, because I doubt syphilis sells. Yeah.
That's funny.
It sold 6 million copies.
Oh, wow.
And it's probably why movies like The Mighty Wind exist today. So I guess thank you, Kingston Trio, for keeping it vague and keeping it wrong.
Yep.
But the thing that bothers me the most about the Kingston Trio version is that it paints Tom as a martyr and as a noble figure.
Yeah.
A man wronged by his woman, cheated on so that he was cheated on, so he killed her, and rightly so. Even then, even the lyric suggests, poor boy, you're bound to die. Poor boy. They pity him. I don't think Laura deserved the treatment of a cheating, wicked woman. I think it was a big old mess.
Yeah.
I think most of it could have been avoided if people were honest about their sexual health.
Yep.
But, you know, And
it's the period as
and
well.
Religious people. I mean, you weren't even supposed to say you had sex outside of marriage, and these people were hopping beds all over the place.
Yeah.
So I don't blame her for keeping it quiet, but she didn't have to have sex with everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to say it's Pearline's fault.
Yeah.
Because it's not entirely, but if she would have remained abstinent, knowing she had syphilis, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I know that the shame involving one's sex life back then was life-ruining, but maybe if Pearline had acted differently, Laura Foster would have lived. So, knowing this, I wrote a song called Pearline, and we're going to sing it now. We are. Yeah, she's going to sing it too. 1, 2, 3, go. Well, hello, y'all. My name is Pearline. About the sneakiest woman that you ever seen. I come from over yonder in Tennessee, 'cause something over there was eating at me. I came to visit my grandpa, maybe a few other reasons that I can't recall. I needed some money for a treatment or two, so I worked for the Meltons, then the trouble grew. Well, pretty young Anne was the woman of the house, but she had a lover as well as a spouse. She told me to cover, and what did I do? Well, I made her lover my lover too. About a month later, Tom didn't feel so well. Got sores on his mouth that started to swell. He went to get a cure, went straight to the doc, and lo and behold, Tom had the pock. Well, it wasn't too long till Anne had it too, and boy, were they mad. What were they gonna do? They vowed to kill the one that got them sick. Well, it had to be that Laura chick. To no one's surprise, Laura disappeared. Tom and Ann got quiet, they were mighty afeared. They told me to hush on all that I know, but all my secrets were starting to show. Cops found Laura's body with a little help from me. Perhaps I felt just a smidge guilty. Laura took the blame, they killed her, you see. But she didn't get them sick, it was little old me.
Wow.
Yeah, I resisted all I could without making it a Jolene cover.
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
If you're at home and you feel like you want to take the lyrics and make it Pearline, 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 why'd you have to,
Yep.
have round heels, Pearline?
Please don't give me your syphilis.
It's Pearline.
That's amazing. Well, now that, listen, Beyonce, it's on the Cowboy Carter album, so,
Yeah.
So
maybe.
Yep.
Pearline. If you want to write it and send it in, we'll post it.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is Tom Dooley. And
wow.
It's very salacious. And
it's amazing, the twists and turns of that story.
I know.
Like you talked briefly about the music. Usually what I love when you tell me the origin of songs is you go into so much detail about the history of the songs and the performances and things. But with this one, there was so much of the actual story that was, that was just so twisty and turny.
Yeah, it was wild. Wild indeed. Wild stuff. Yeah, I'm very surprised that it became it became one of the most famous murder ballads of all time.
Yeah. As you hear, we had our panelist back.
Our panelist is back and letting us know. What did you think about Tom Dooley?
Yeah. And what did you think about Alison's amazing song as well?
Shucks. What do you think about Perlene?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Now you're quiet.
Now you're quiet. That's good. Well, you don't have anything to say.
God bless you, and being able to cobble together whatever
It's gonna be great, friends. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna use her auditory expirations as transitions.
We should do like it's like Elvis won a cookie, but
yeah.
Or is that with the guest panelist?
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up.
Thank you so much, Fran. That was so great, and the detail that you went into, it was amazing. I really loved this story. Yeah, you loved it too.
Did you love it too?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So reach out and email us at cormacandgwen@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram. We're at Cormac and Gwen.
Yeah.
If you go to our YouTube, like and subscribe to our channel. We have full episodes up there if you search for Cormac and Gwen.
And please rate and review and subscribe on, wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps. We want all of the feedback. So just let us know you're listening. That would be really awesome.
And remember to take care of yourselves. We love you.
Yeah.
Don't go down by the river. And don't find yourself. Do you want to say it?
Ready?
In some dark holler. Yay! You did it.